Okay, so you can see a video of this this very violent game. It's called Cost of Freedom. We've put it up on our website, 3aw.com.au, but just bear in mind it is graphic. It is certainly not suitable for young eyes, although video games are often aimed at young people. It's a stylised version of Jewish prisoners, I believe, being killed in a concentration camp, a Nazi concentration camp, presumably during the Second World War. It shows prisoners being lined up in front of a trench and being shot. It also shows prisoners being herded into a room where they are gassed to death. Now, we're told it's been developed in the Ukraine. It's causing problems in Poland because that's where a lot of the Nazi or former Nazi death camps are now located. I think, from what I've seen, this game goes too far. Again, it's one thing to have stylised violence, but to make a video game out of something as terrible as the Holocaust, I think, goes beyond the pale. Joining us on the line now, the chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission, Dr. Dvir Abramovich. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tom. Good to be with you as always.
When did you come across this game? When did you first see it?
Today morning I was contacted by Sputnik TV out of Russia wanting to do an interview with me, which I refused. And just when I thought I saw everything, I felt like I was kicked in the stomach. You know, Tom, that we've had a terrible week. We are still mourning for the large loss in the Pittsburgh synagogue massacre. And for me to learn that there is a game out there that, literally turns young people into Nazi murderers is emotionally distressing. It's indecent and disgusting beyond description. And I think, like you said, I think it's clear that all bets are off and that maybe our culture has hit rock bottom when developers are exploiting and manipulating the mass murder and torture of millions for games. I mean, there's nothing funny. There's nothing fun or entertaining about the depravity and the barbarity of the death camps, the gas chambers, and the pain and torture of the victims. So I really, really think that we all need to take a good look hard at ourselves and to think about where we're heading with this.
Do you think the game has been developed just as a game? They've just taken an atrocious, violent episode out of history, in this case the Holocaust, and made a game? Or do you think there might be some sort of, I don't know, anti-Semitic group behind it?
Well, if you look at the game itself, it allows players to play SS officers. And obviously the concentration camp is a model on Auschwitz, where more than 1 million people were systematically exterminated. And players, of course, can become Nazi players. There's a scene there which you mentioned where it takes you into the gas chambers with rock music playing in the background. And you see the inmates being gassed, and there's a Nazi soldier saying, "And now into the oven," and he's actually smiling. I want your listeners to remember that out of the 6 million Jews and the millions of others that were murdered in the Holocaust, there were 1.5 million children that were killed by the Nazis and their collaborators. They were real people, Tom. They were not avatars or characters in a game. And this activity, this amusement, plays and I think defiles their memory and the horrible crimes that took place more than 70 years ago. It's just horrible. There's no educational insight here.
No, I agree. I mean, look, there are plenty of shoot-'em-up games out there, and there's games that are set in World War I and World War II theatres, but this I believe goes a step or a leap much too far. Tell me, do we know if the game has been downloaded and played by people in Australia?
As I understand, it will be released in December, and my information is that it will be available on the Steam platform, which is one of the most popular platforms in the world. We are going to, once that happens, we are going to be calling on Steam, but also on the Google Store, on the App Store, to do the right thing, to act morally, and to resist offering this game for sale and for streaming. We will also be contacting the federal government, and we will ask the Attorney General to refuse classification for this game, in effect banning it. You know that Melbourne is one of the highest Holocaust survivor community in the world. Imagine if you're a Holocaust survivor in Melbourne who's lost entire family in the Holocaust, in the death camps. How would you feel?
No, well, I didn't have, although I have a very distant Jewish relative, I didn't lose anybody I knew directly to me in the camps, but I still find the game depraved. Look, I appreciate your time, Dr. Dvir Abramovich, Anti-Defamation Commission Chairman. Look, again, you can see a video of the game being played on our website, 3aw.com.au. I think it goes too far. This idea that you can choose to play an SS camp guard and order Jews, including women and children, into the gas chambers and listen to rock music while they're dying. I mean, it's a game, but it is just a depraved part of history that we don't want to ever see repeated. 96900 693 13 13 32. I'll take your calls in a moment at 4:45.